BMW Supra.
Oh! Oh, beautiful!
Today guys, I have the keys to a Mark V Supra. And if you've been living under a rock, you might not know that this car has been causing a lot of controversy and a lot of excitement throughout all kinds of people, especially those on the internet. So today, we're going to talk about the new Toyota Supra. We're going to do a car review. If you're new to my videos, we're going to be doing this from the perspective of someone who does a lot of track driving and does a lot of drifting. I want to put an emphasis on that because we've all seen those car reviewers who will drive a car and say the handle's good, only because the steering ratio rack is fast. I really want to go in depth with the dynamics of the car and what it really is doing when pushed to the limit. I feel like some reviewers just can't get to that level. So today we're going to focus on talking about the Supra from a high performance driving aspect, and we're going to look at it as a streetable car for someone who does a lot of that stuff. I also want to kind of follow some of the controversy and a lot of the bench racing that's happened on the internet, because if you do not know this, BMW is very heavily involved with the development of this vehicle. Is German manufacturer helping the Japanese? We've seen this before. Hans, call the Italians, the boys are getting back together. Now, I know you guys might all be thinking the same thing. Is that a banana in your pocket, or are you just excited to be driving the Supra? And it is a banana. Why do I have a banana? Well, to be perfectly scientific, we need calibrated tools and we need a standard size tool so that way you guys, the viewer, understand what I'm trying to portray. So here I have a Dole calibrated banana. Dole has been calibrating bananas since the 1600s. So this is the standard size Dole banana right here. And I'm going to put it on this car, and you guys are going to realize how big the Supra is based off of that. Essentially, we're using a banana for scale. I hope this helps you guys figure out if you want to purchase this vehicle or not. So let's talk about the powertrain in this vehicle. Now, before I go any further, I am going to say there are some mild modifications to this car. There is an aftermarket air intake, an aftermarket exhaust, and an aftermarket charge pipe. These chassis brace from Blitz, and lowering springs, plus a lip kit on the car, but that is all that's been done to this vehicle. To clarify in the exhaust system, it's only a catback exhaust. This car still has the stock downpipe, and it does not have a tune yet. The new Supra, and the reason for a lot of its controversy, is it uses a BMW inline 6. This motor is called the B58. It's an inline 6, 3 liters, and it uses a twin scroll turbocharger. Now, if we go through the Supra's history, really what the Supra is known for, and more iconically, the Mark IV Supra is it's known for its 2JZ engine, and it's known for having an inline 6 that's turbocharged and makes gobs of horsepower. So, I'm Toyota. I'm tasked with designing the new Supra. I'm also assigned a budget and a target goal to hit with the car's price. I realize if we develop our own inline 6, it's going to make this car cost too much. It's going to make this car a $100,000 car, meaning it's less accessible to people. Or, I also have the option to go source a V6 twin turbo from our Lexus department and throw it in here. But I'm also designing the new Supra, which is historically known for having an inline 6 engine. I also know that BMW has been developing the turbocharged inline 6 for the last 10 years or so, and that technology already exists. And when stricken with this dilemma of finding an inline 6 or designing it and trying to meet a budget requirement, why reinvent the wheel when BMW has already mastered the turbocharged inline 6? So, a lot of people are angry that this car is using a BMW inline 6. It needs to be a Toyota engine. It's basically a BMW. How could Toyota do this? I don't want a BMW. I'm just sitting here on my keyboard complaining about a car that I'll never even realistically buy. But when you think of it from a cost analysis perspective, design challenge, it goes back to why reinvent the wheel? We already have a good supplier for turbocharged inline sixes. Why compete against them when they have 10 years of experience on us now in this modern age of technology? I think this is a win-win for everyone. I think what they did is really smart and was a great idea. Because in the end, the Supra is known for being a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car, 2 doors, and an inline 6 turbocharged engine that can make gobs of horsepower. Gobs, I'm telling you. The B58 in the 3 Series community was already known for making a lot of horsepower. I remember saying in my 340i review, well before this car was announced to have a BMW engine, that I said the B58 is the next modern 2JZ. Ironically, we find it in a Supra chassis now. With a downpipe and a tune alone, this car will make mid 400 to almost 500 wheel on pump gas. That's insane. That is insane. You put $1,500 bucks, $2,000 into this car, and you're in the 500 horsepower territory? That is crazy, and that's what the 2JZ was known for back in the day. People knew if you bought a Mark IV Supra and modified it a little bit, you could make a lot of power. You got an E85 on this car, you make 600 wheel about. Unfortunately, I think Toyota did drop the ball and didn't opt for a manual option. I think a lot of people are going to be missing out. Don't get me wrong, the transmission in this car is absolutely amazing, but I think having a manual option would have been a great opportunity to really appeal to the enthusiast. It's amazing how high the limits are of this car out of the box. For reference, me and the owner of this car, Ed, which I did his STI review last year, he sold that car, bought this car. That's a whole nother story though. Bought a much better car, by the way. We went and autocrossed this car for the first time together. We co-drove, and we're on the factory tires, which are Michelin Super Sports. Still a really good summer tire, really competent tire, but it's not a competitive tire in the realm of autocross. For those that are familiar with the autocross community, it can be a very competitive motorsport. So we ran this car on B Street, and I thought we were going to end up middle of the pack. We had a good amount of cars, but I didn't think we were going to do that good just because we didn't have a really aggressive sticky set of tires. End of the day, we won the class, and we ranked really high up in the raw times overall in a stock Supra. It is absolutely insane that you can take this car out of the box and do that. I feel like we honestly, if we ran like a set of Yokohama AO52s, for reference, that Yokohama tire is the stickiest tire you can buy, and it's the most competitive street tire you can use in autocross right now. If we had a set of those on this car, I feel like we could have possibly taken the top raw time of the day. This car is extremely capable out of the box. The car has a lot of grip, it's very capable, steering's very communicative, especially for an electric power steering system. It is just a great car to drive, very visceral to drive, it's even being automatic. The differential works wonders in this car. I was very impressed for a factory differential, how good the car was able to put the grip and power down. Now that's not to say this car wouldn't break loose. The car has so much power and torque, and it's so responsive, and that torque comes in at such a low RPM and comes in very fast that it is easy to break the tires loose. But the engine is actually very responsive for a turbo car, so it's quite manageable. Now let's talk about the design and aesthetics of this car. Definitely no BMW here, let's be honest. Nothing here looks BMW. This car's design philosophy is so loud. I have never driven a car on the road that has so much road presence to the point where cars in the canyon would pull over for this car. They'd get right out of the way and let me keep going. This car just oozes an aggressive essence about it, and it just turns heads. Even if this car's black on black, right, which is a little more of a sleek color choice, but it turns heads to car enthusiasts and even non-car enthusiasts. This really grabs attention. This has such aggressive design throughout the whole car. It has presence. You see it in a parking lot, and it just it takes your eyes away from whatever else is there. It's got that aura to it, which I think is really important when you have a name like Supra on the back of the car. It is abstract. When I first saw this car, I wasn't about it, and a lot of times pictures don't do it justice. When you see this car in person, it's a beautiful car, absolutely beautiful. I do feel like on the front fenders / hood, there could be it's missing a little something, just too clown shoe looking to me. But it's only mild, and once you lower the car, it kind of gets rid of that clown shoe look. It's still there, but it's not as bad. But on the other hand, Supras have always had really long hoods, so it's part of the design. This rear end though, absolutely such a good looking car. It's so hot. Like, I love the way this looks from behind. The taillights, everything just looks so cool, looks so mean and aggressive. And same thing for the front. When you get that dead on straight look of the car from the front, it looks so mean. And in black, this car is basically Darth Vader in a car form. So let's talk about the interior of this car. Honestly, considering the objective of A, sports car, B, the price range needs to be a nice car, 3, it needs to pay homage to the Supra. A, sports car, 2 seats, field of view of just the road, everything's very driver centric, good. B, nice interior. B, nice interior. It's BMW interior basically, which is going to degrade from point C, but BMWs have good interiors. That's not an unknown fact. We know BMWs are known for good interiors, and this is no different. This is a nice interior here. Very nice leather, comfortable place to be in. The only thing I don't really like is when you get in, see this hoop right here? The roof comes down quite a bit. So when I get in this vehicle, I'm 6 foot, I have to crank my neck and kind of slouch and slide in, and then I'm in the car. I actually have a lot of headroom, but there's about 6 inches from here, where this roof is on the outside, to the inside roof where you're sitting here. So that is something to consider if you are a taller person. I would highly suggest sitting in one, getting in and out a few times, and it might be a deal breaker for some people, I think. But if it's comfortable for you, then don't let it bother you. Because point C, the old Supra, the Mark IV specifically, is known for having that cockpit fighter jet feel inside of it. Does this car deliver there? Partially. When you get in, you have a large tub of the chassis to crawl over, and you have the same hoop here, so you kind of feel like you're getting locked into a fighter jet. But other than that, it doesn't follow the design philosophy of the older Supra, where you had all your gauges very pointed towards you. Everything's very flat and symmetrical in here. So in that sense, it doesn't really appeal to Mark IV Supra fans in that regard. One thing I want to add with the interior is everyone knows the BMW chime. This Supra came with that chime. And this is what kind of irks me with Toyota, is there's so many quick wins in this car to make it more Supra-esque. There's so many points of nostalgia that were missed as well, that would have taken away a lot of heat from them. The BMW chime is known to be BMW. I get in the car, I hear that chime, I think BMW. I don't want that in my Toyota Supra. Now, this car has been updated. It has we're in an age where you can update cars, right? It's kind of funny. But a recall was done on this car, and it took away that chime, so it doesn't make that noise now. So I think it's a little better. So, from my perspective, as someone who drives on the track a lot and really likes getting the car to its fullest limit, this car does pose a little bit of a dilemma for me. And that is, this car is so capable that even on the streets, you're going dangerously fast. In our local canyon road that we're driving in right now, someone once told me, not me, I would never do this, that it is very easy to hit triple-digit speeds in between corners. Very easy. And it takes 2 things to do that. A lot of power, or a lot of corner speed. Or you have this car, and it has both. Has relatively good corner speed, but also has a good amount of power, it is very easy to see triple digits and excessive triple digits in your local canyon road. So what that brings me dilemma is when I want to get the limits out of the car, extract that and feel the push and all that stuff of the car, feel that car on the ragged edge, I am aggressively breaking the law, right? Theoretically, I'm saying this in theory, by the way. Theoretically, I'm breaking the law pretty bad. Theoretically, I'm putting myself in a lot of danger as well, because trees and triple digit speeds don't combine together very good. We can ask Paul Walker about that one, see what he thinks. So back to the topic, this car has very high limits. It's very capable of pulling a lot of speed through corners, and on the street, really easy to get in trouble with, in my opinion. If you have any kind of driving skill in terms of a high performance dynamic setting, like track or autocross, this car would be very easy to get in a lot of trouble with on the streets. And it kind of brings up a dilemma. Do you continue to push the car on the streets and risk hurting yourself or getting in a lot of trouble, or both? Or do you just have to neuter your driving on the streets and kind of drive this like a Camry everywhere you go, so just so you prevent yourself from getting in trouble and save it for the track? You should be saving it for the track, but it brings up a point where sometimes slower cars are funner to daily drive because you can push them harder and not be breaking the law and not be risking your life and still getting that fun out of the car, extracting that essence from it. But to extract the essence out of this car and what it's really capable of and what it's about means you're crossing a line you might not want to cross. On the other hand, it is very easy to pass people when passing lanes open up. But on the other hand as well, this car is so aggressive and has so much aura to it, people will pull over for you. In my 1 Series, whenever I drive this canyon, I never get people to pull over for me, and that car is very capable of going very fast through this canyon. The car, data logger says, I believe I pulled 1.5 Gs in that car on a sticky set of street tires, like a competitive autocross set at the track. So the car is very capable. But no one will get out of my way in my 1 Series. This car? Thank you. Like, yeah, passing cars all day. They will get out of your way. They see this car just, like I said, I keep using the word aura. The car has an aura to it, it has a presence to it. But man, what a delight it is to drive. Like, it's just such a good driver's car. Even with the paddles, I know we don't have a stick, but take that out of the equation, and you have a very responsive automatic transmission. It is such a delight to drive and feel in control of the car still. The only difference is you're not operating a clutch pedal, but if you're in manual mode and you're using the paddles, your fingertips control the shifting very well. There's no delay, there's no waiting on technology, nor is there any technology taking over for you, and I like that a lot. I think that's a really good thing to have. Some automatics will shift for you and you get to redline, they'll feel the need to shift for you, or they're slow and lazy and clunky, and that's not engaging at all. The point of a manual transmission is, since you're in control, you're fully engaged. What takes you out of engagement in a car, in a driving environment, is when something else is stopping you from doing what you as a driver want to do. So that's why floppy paddle transmissions in the beginning were very disengaging. Because they were slow. You were wanting that shift now. But you're not getting it now. Now you're waiting. It's breaking the immersion. It's breaking the engagement. Same thing with turbochargers. Turbochargers are so laggy. I want power now, but I'm putting my foot to the floor and I'm waiting for this technology to spool up, right? But with this car, even though it's turbocharged, even though it's got a flappy paddle transmission, it's still quite the engaging vehicle. Because you're not waiting on anything. You are still in control of what's going on. The only thing you're not in control of is cars that pull out in front of you to go slower. And that's also why we don't like traffic, because it breaks that immersion, it breaks that engagement. So I wouldn't let the automatic transmission bum you out if you're looking for a good driving experience. This still delivers. The reason a manual transmission makes us feel more engaged is two things, and one thing we won't gain out of this with an automatic is actually operating a clutch pedal, right? The actual act of operating it. The second thing is, though, we are in control of that clutch pedal, right? Which means even though the shifting is slower, I'm not waiting on anything. I'm not breaking that immersion because I know I'm operating the clutch, right? And that's why we like the manual transmissions, because we're in control. I can't get over how capable this car is. The throttle response is great. It does a really good job at, if I give it 50% throttle, I will get 50% power. It's pretty close. An NA motor, a naturally aspirated motor, does that the best, because if I give it 50% throttle, I'm getting 50% volumetric efficiency from the engine, right? It's very basic. It's a one-to-one equation. With the turbocharger, it's a little different, because sometimes that turbocharger can generate more volumetric efficiency than you're requesting. So I'm sure we've all been there. We've driven a turbo car. I give it 50% throttle, but I'm getting 75% power output out of the vehicle because that turbocharger kind of gets carried away with it. This car does a great job of really managing your throttle input to power output. I would say it's still not going to be as good as a naturally aspirated car. It never will be. When that day comes, that's going to be an interesting day. But honestly, I would give it a range of plus or minus 5% to what your throttle input is to your power output. So those are my thoughts on the new Mark V Supra. Now, I will be honest, when I first got to drive this car at Autocross, I immediately went home and started looking these up for sale because I just want one so bad. But it's tricky. I'm not sure if I want to sell my very competitive 1 Series that I own for one of these. That's where I'm kind of at a toss-up right now. My 1 Series is manual and it's NA. It's very visceral to drive, but this car is just so good. It oozes excellence. It's such a good car. And so I'm on the fence about getting one personally because I enjoy this car a lot. But there's also one more factor. The new Z is slated to come out next year. The new Z car will have a manual transmission and a mechanical parking brake, so drifters like me, we got something to tug on. So with that in mind, I'm holding out. I want to see how the new Nissan Z performs, and if the new Nissan Z can deliver a driving experience like this car, but with a manual transmission, I feel like the new Nissan Z might be the car to have instead. But it's a really close toss-up. I feel like it's going to be really neck and neck. And if the transmission deal isn't a selling point for you, then it may just come down to what aesthetics do for you, right? But the good news is, we're getting a market now in the 2020s, technically 2021, right? Whatever, right? With sports cars. We're getting sports cars again, guys. The market has sports cars on it. We got a new Z car, a new Supra. It's awesome. And I'm looking forward to what other new cars come. But this is such an excellent car, and I have a hard time not suggesting getting one if you're looking for a modern new sports car. This is a great choice. It's absolutely great to drive, very visceral, very engaging to drive, very fast. It checks off so many boxes, guys. It's really hard to go wrong with the new Mark V Supra. So I hope you guys enjoyed this car review. The Mark V Supra is a great car. I love it. If you're looking to buy one, I highly suggest it. If you're on the fence, I'd wait for the new Z car to come out. But such a fun car to drive. Such a great car to drive. And so, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more car videos. I do a lot of track day stuff, car reviews, etc. And make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. The likes down below help me out a lot, so please hit that like button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching.